pattern that we could be getting. In fact, it's a very negative chart pattern, and it comes at a time where Bitcoin is actually in a crisis, because right now the Bitcoin is unusable. The mempool is full. The transaction fees are high. Transactions aren't being put through. Does this show what the next step is? Because usually the charts show what the next step is for Bitcoin, and is this showing us that the next move is actually down? And you know that if this head and shoulders lands up playing out, then you could say that the next move in Bitcoin is going to be about a 13% move down. And if it is a 13% move down from where we are right now, you are looking at a Bitcoin price of under 24,000, under 24,000. So that's the first question. The other thing is, it could be one of the biggest opportunities in crypto, because right now we are seeing the emergence of a new asset class on Bitcoin. This asset class has a market cap of $1 billion. And if you compare that to the same asset class on Ethereum, which is the ERC20 token standard, that's got a $239 billion market cap. So this could be the biggest opportunities of our crypto lives, depending on how we see it. So on the one hand, Bitcoin is broken, the price could go down. On the other hand, it could bring us the best opportunity we've seen. It's even bigger than meme coins, way bigger than meme coins. We're also going to be talking about meme coins today. So listen, going to be a huge show. Get out of bed. Let's go, go, go.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go. Get up, and then they got go. Time to wake up, bitch, get up. Get up, get up.
Wakey, rise and shine, DJs. We've got a lot to be grateful for today. Today is actually a really big day. We have a lot to be grateful for. And I want to show you something that may haunt you. It may haunt you just like it haunted me. So if we look at today, it's a very special day. Exactly a year ago today, it was this day. Deploying more capital, steady lads. And if you were here last year at this time and you remember this black day where Luna went from $120 a couple of days before all the way down, here, as you can see on the 9th of May, here it is. That was the day that Luna actually collapsed and went down to pretty much zero. It's exactly 1 year ago today that this happened. It's 1 year ago since UST depegged from $1 and went all the way down to pretty much nothing. And I don't know about you, but let me tell you, I'm grateful to still be here today. That was, for me, certainly the blackest period of my investment life. It was the blackest period of my life with you guys, because, a lot of us were very bullish on Luna, and a lot of us invested in Luna because we really thought that Luna would work. That was exactly 1 year ago. And I remember going through a very tough period in my life, and I came out of it, and I came out of it stronger. So if you're still here, if you're still around, smash the like button. Let me know that you're present. Let me know that you made it. We're here. We're stronger. Not only are we stronger, but remember the other day that I was talking about how I flew on American Airlines and American air passengers deserve better, and that got me on a whole rant about Americans deserve better. Remember that? So it seems like Joe Biden is quoting me, because he also said American air travelers deserve better, and he was talking about specifically American Airlines or delays. So it's a great day today. Not only do I have the President of the United States quoting me, but we survived. We're here 1 year after Luna. We're a much stronger business. We're a much stronger community. I think we've become more responsible as a channel since the whole Luna collapse. We've become much stronger as a community. We've become much stronger as a channel. We've become much more responsible as a channel. We've become much more responsible as investors. The market hasn't recovered as much, but rest assured it will. And when it does, we're here together with the Banter fam. And I'm glad if you're here. If you were here last year with Luna, do me a favor, smash the like button. In fact, smash the like button anyway. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to our channel. We are one of the fastest growing crypto channels in the bear market, which is amazing. I didn't think that we'd be able to grow as fast as we did in the bear market. Yeah, give us some love. Smash those likes. I see 429 likes. Let's go, go, go. Let me know if you were here in the time of Luna. Let me know if you were here, if you've become a better investor. Let me know in the comments. We got a massive alpha pack show for you today. We're going to look at this head and shoulders on Bitcoin, which comes at a very crazy time because usually the charts perform first, and then once the charts perform, the fundamental news follows. And you know that Bitcoin is actually in a massive crisis right now. The crisis can actually be a big opportunity. So on the one hand, Bitcoin is not working. Now, imagine you were an investor that bought into Bitcoin and said, look, I'm here because I want to invest in a store of value. I think Bitcoin is the best store of value out there. And that's your investment thesis. And now Bitcoin is no longer a store of value. If you think about what's happening with Bitcoin right now, it's no longer the store of value. You've got the average transaction fees spiking, which is kind of good, I guess. You've got the average transactions per block spiking. Look at the average transactions per block spiking. But you got the mempool completely full. The mempool is like, you can't get transactions. If you look at this is the transactions, pending transactions in the Bitcoin mempool. But just look at that. Like that's 400 to 500 transactions pending, or even 600 plus transactions pending in the mempool. But Bitcoin is unusable. And probably the most important metric is if you look at the transaction size on the Bitcoin network. The transaction size has become small because people are sending through one Satoshi at a time. Like that's what's going on in Bitcoin. So if you think about what the charts are telling us, and if we look at the charts, what are the charts telling us? There's a head and shoulders on the Bitcoin chart. That's undeniable. No matter who you are, you're looking at this Bitcoin chart, you're saying, hold on a second. There is a head and shoulders here. If the head and shoulders plays out, you can expect a Bitcoin price of around under 24,000. We can expect a Bitcoin price of under 24,000. The charts usually go ahead of the fundamentals. The fundamentals are telling you that Bitcoin is broken. That's what the fundamentals are telling you. Bitcoin is broken. Now the question is, what happens next? What happens next? At the same time, I wanted to show you something. I saw an opportunity to trade this. So in the competition, I did see an opportunity to trade this. What I did was I took a long on BCH and I took a long on BSV. And the reason why I took a long on Bitcoin Cash and BSV is because I just thought that if people get out of Bitcoin, where are they going to go? And so I suspected that they would go to Bitcoin Cash and BSV because those are, in inverted commas, Bitcoin alternatives. Obviously, they're not Bitcoin alternatives. That's garbage, but that's what I thought investors would think. That's put me number 29 in the competition. So I have been as high as 15. Remember, you can join the competition. Well, there's 269 spaces left in this competition. The winner gets a Tesla. Number 2 gets a Rolex watch. Number 3 gets $10,000 in cash. So hold on a second. Why is this group going crazy here? Okay, I see that. All right, so that is where we are. Remember, smash the like button. See, the likes aren't going up as quickly as we'd like. Apparently, if the likes go up, the price goes up as well. Do I close these positions? No, not yet. I'm still confident that there is some upside here. I also took a little bit of a long on Arbitrum just because it got whacked last night, and I think that it probably could recover in the competition. So that's where I am. All right, let's go. Let's talk about where we are with Bitcoin later on in the show. Remember, we had that panel on Friday where we spoke about meme coins. Well, we're going to do exactly the same thing, but we're going to do it on Bitcoin Ordinals and BRC20 tokens. Almost like showing you guys what are the best investments in BRC20 and Bitcoin Ordinals, and kind of like getting our feet wet in that market. We've got to get our feet wet in the market. We have to get our feet wet into that market. So let's look at where we're at with Bitcoin and why the whole crisis. As I said to you, we're in a position now where the Bitcoin network, the same problem we spoke about yesterday, the Bitcoin network is unusable. You can't use Bitcoin. And there are a whole bunch of investors that invested in Bitcoin with a thesis that this is a store of value, a place where they can move large sums of money quite quickly with low transaction fees. But that's not the case here with Bitcoin anymore. What you got is you got the average transaction fee going way up. You've got the number of transactions per block going way up. The mempool is unusable, 600 plus transactions sometimes, and that means that your transactions aren't getting approved. Bitcoin is broken. And I saw this tweet by 𝗕𝗏𝗏. It says, Bitcoin's failure to scale quickly has caused the highest transaction fees of all coins. This is driving users to altcoins. Now, this tweet as pertinent and as relevant as it is right now, is actually a tweet that's from June 2016. So you can see that this problem actually originated way back then. And they said, if Bitcoin's fees are too high, they're going to force people to go into altcoins. The same thing has kind of happened here now. You got the Bitcoin fees, you got the block's half empty, and now people are saying, hold on a second, we can actually create these new BRC20 tokens, which is like ERC20 tokens, but on the Bitcoin network, and that can drive up the miner value. Now the issue is that this is driving the average Bitcoin transaction value down, because now what people are sending is they're not sending real Bitcoin transactions anymore. Because remember, every time that you send a BRC20 token or an ordinal, what you're doing is you're actually just sending one Satoshi. So the transactions that are actually happening right now on the Bitcoin network are as small as one Satoshi. Because that's how this technology works. How the technology works is what you do is you look at the Bitcoin network. The Bitcoin network has 21 million Bitcoin, right? Every Bitcoin is broken down into 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, which is a Satoshi, which is like the smallest denomination of a Bitcoin. Now, if you put on a special lens called an ordinals lens, for lack of a better word, and you look at the individual Satoshi, you can see that Satoshi is marked as a unique Satoshi. So it's almost like you take the Bitcoin network, which is 21 million Bitcoin, you reduce that into the number of Satoshis, so 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. And then what you do is you put on a special lens and you mark each specific token. Now, I saw a very, very, very cool explanation by 𝗬𝗓𝗏 about why an NFT on an ordinal or on a Satoshi, because remember, all you're doing is you're branding an individual Satoshi. What makes this better in his mind than an Ethereum NFT? And I want you guys to listen to this, because I think it's actually quite important, and I think the explanation is actually quite good. We tried to get Udi on the show, but couldn't get hold of him today.
It's not just NFTs on Bitcoin. The dynamics of ordinals are really different from how NFTs work on Ethereum. They're different in two important ways. One is, as the owner of an ordinal, it's truly yours. No one can change it. No one can change the image. What happened to Goblin Towns cannot happen. Doesn't matter what the creator wants. Doesn't matter what kind of royalty marketplace wars are going on. It's permanent. So you guarantee that the image is always going to be on chain. It's always going to be available no matter what happens. As long as Bitcoin exists, the image of the inscription is also going to exist. And it is truly scarce. It is made out of scarce material. So when you create an Ethereum NFT, you could create easily millions a day. With Bitcoin, there's only 4 megabytes of block space available every 10 minutes. And you got to acquire some of it in order to craft your inscription. And there's only a very limited amount of it that's going to be created every day.
So it is a much more limited item, because remember, it's got to be inscribed on a actual Satoshi. So it's not unlike an Ethereum, where there are network emissions all the time. In order to mint an ordinal, or in order to mint one of these new BRC20 tokens, you have to actually mint it on a Satoshi. And so that makes it much more rare. So look, it's created a huge problem in Bitcoin, but it's also a massive opportunity. And I want to show you the size of the opportunity, because this opportunity is there's probably 250x and maybe even more in this opportunity. And I want to show you what the data says. So we know that right now, as we stand, the market cap of these Bitcoin ordinals, or these Bitcoin BRC20 tokens, is about $1 billion. And that you can get from this website, brc-20.io. That shows you all the projects, well, not all, but a lot of the projects, and it shows you the market capitalization of the projects. Right now, the market cap of the project is $1 billion. And what you can see is that one project, which is the original ordinals Ordi project, has 50% of that market cap. Now, if I compare that to Ethereum, you can see that if you look at the total Ethereum market cap of ERC20 tokens, the market cap of ERC20 tokens is $239 billion, which means that if the Bitcoin opportunity becomes the same size as the Ethereum opportunity, there is a 250x upside in this sector. So best, if you believe that this ecosystem is going to develop on Bitcoin, and you believe that there is a future for this ecosystem developing on Bitcoin, you need to start understanding how to operate this ecosystem. And I did speak about that yesterday. You can go back to the show yesterday and you can learn how to use the Ordinals wallet, and you can start becoming familiar with the projects. And that's why later on, again, as I say in the show, we're going to get a panel here, and we're going to discuss with the panel the best projects on this BRC20 standards. But you got to remember that you're very, 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 very early. And a lot of these projects aren't even properly developed yet. So we're going to be spending a lot of time, because this opportunity could be really big. There could be 250x in this opportunity. And the exchanges are actually starting to see it. So Binance starting to integrate it. You're now getting this battle between the exchanges to try and list the ordinals or the Audi type tokens as quickly as possible. So you've got BitGet listing Audi, you've got Gate.io degenning into these Audi tokens, you've got Crypto.com also degenning into these Audi tokens, you've got, as I said, Gate. So what you can see is that the exchanges are realizing that this is a massive opportunity, and what they're doing is they're providing liquidity, and that's one of the opportunities here. One of the big opportunities here is if you identify a good project which is on this list over here, and that's hopefully what we're going to do later on in the show today, and let me know if you're going to participate with us. But if you can identify a good project here that's not yet listed on one of the centralized exchanges, you know when it hits the centralized exchanges. In fact, Ferdy, can you send me some charts of what happened to the tokens that were listed on the centralized exchanges? You will see that the projects, as they get listed on the centralized exchanges, explode. And maybe that in itself is an opportunity. Maybe that's not a 250x opportunity, but maybe that's a 10x opportunity. So that's what we're going to be talking about today later on when we have when we have a panel with us. Now, there is another theory. And the theory is that this whole ordinals thing is actually an attack on Bitcoin. I don't know if you've read it, but it's an attack on Bitcoin. And the theory even goes as far as to say that the people that are attacking the Bitcoin network are the creators of all these BRC20 and all these ordinals tokens. And the theory, it's a crazy theory, but I thought I'd share it with you anyway, is that these developers are actually BSV developers. Now remember, BSV is a fork of Bitcoin. Well, I think it's actually a fork of Bitcoin Cash. So it's a fork which was created around Craig Wright. And as you know, Craig Wright believes that he's Satoshi, or he wants everyone else to believe that he's Satoshi. And if you tell him that he's not Satoshi, he sues you. Now, there is a theory, I think it's garbage, but it's worth talking about, that 98.9% of all the transactions in the BTC ordinal space are produced by ex-BSV teams and current BSV teams. Okay, now, they say that because if you wanted to take down the Bitcoin network, what do? You make it unusable. How do you make it unusable? You create a standard that creates these meme coins. Now, again, I say it's a ludicrous, stupid, crazy theory, but that theory in itself provided me with a trading opportunity. That's why this morning I decided to take a small position in the trading competition and actually in my other accounts in BSV, because I thought that BSV would actually rally. And you can see that today, BSV has actually been one of the best performers. The other one that's been a great performer is BitGet. So you don't have to guess why BitGet has gone up. A, because they are a crypto Banter partner, and everybody knows that if it's a good exchange. The other thing is that, remember, ByBit implemented a KYC yesterday. And so what the market is telling you is it's saying, well, look, if people are going to not trade on ByBit, which is ludicrous because most of ByBit's customers are actually KYC'd, over 90% are KYC'd, well, they're going to move to BitGet. And you can see the next one that moved is BCH. Why did BCH move? Again, because people think that these are alternatives to Bitcoin. We know that's garbage. We know there's only one Bitcoin, but there are these theories that this is potentially an attack on Bitcoin. Anyway, regardless, for us, the way we see it, big opportunity. Because I don't know if it's these projects that are going to survive. I don't know if it's the next generations of projects that are going to survive. But I know for sure now that we've opened Pandora's box. And once you've opened Pandora's box, it ain't going away. We have created a new industry on Bitcoin. We have created a new industry on the most secure protocol out there. And in time, the protocol will have to sort out its problems, either by using layer 2s or by a fork or whatever the solution is. We'll talk to our panel about that when they join us today. But you have to learn how to use this, because this could be the next 250x opportunity in crypto. And you have to also understand what it does to the rest of your portfolio. Like, you know, if this happens, what does it mean for your Ethereum position? Does it mean that some of the NFT activity is going to go off Ethereum? Or I saw yesterday that a lot of the NFT activity that has been on Ethereum and usually would go to Solana, this time it's the meme coin activity, and instead of the meme coins actually going to Solana, the meme coins are actually going to Arbitrum. So that is why I took a position in the competition in Arbitrum, because I just thought if the meme coins start moving to Arbitrum, then maybe people will see a new use case for Arbitrum, and they will see it as almost the Solana killer. Because in the past with NFTs, when the transaction fees got too big on Ethereum, people just went to Solana. Now, a lot of these new coins that are being launched are actually being launched on Arbitrum. And for me, that was a sign to say, look, just take a small position in Arbitrum, because if this theme catches on, you know what happens next. All right, good. So as I mentioned, we do have a panel coming up. Like Friday, we're going to degen with a panel. But before that, we do have some formalities that we need to get out the way. Big formalities, because lots of things are happening this week. So let's talk about some of the things that are happening this week. The first thing that is happening this week is happening, I think it's tomorrow, right, Freddie? The CPI numbers are when? Tomorrow? Tomorrow is CPI numbers. Freddie is going to do another moonwalk for us today, because we weren't happy with his last moonwalk. So here's the way I see CPI. You got to pay attention. For those of you who are sleeping in class, wake up and pay attention. We have a lot. Someone says, let's fund accounts. We will fund accounts today. We will talk about Ben today and whether you should be buying Ben. The answer is no, but we'll tell you why in a couple of seconds. Okay, so let's talk about CPI. The way I see CPI tomorrow, it can't be good. Let me explain to you why CPI can't be good tomorrow. So remember that up until now, inflation has been decreasing, right? Every single month, inflation has been decreasing. You see here? That's the trajectory of inflation. Every single month, inflation has been decreasing. It went from, let's show more of these. It went from 8.2 to 7.7 to 7.1 to 6.5 to 6.4 to 6 to 5. The last decrease in inflation was the biggest decrease in inflation on a percentage basis that we've seen. It's almost a 20% decrease in deflation from 6 to 5. So tomorrow, the analysts are expecting an inflation of 5%. There are only three things that can happen here. We can beat it. If we beat it, we're going to get to 4.8%, in which case inflation only goes down by 0.2. Market celebrates, but that's not good. If we match it, we get 5%, which is as per last time. The market looks at this and says, wow, hold on. Inflation is not decreasing anymore. Big problem. If we miss and we go to 5.1 or 5.2, the message to the market is, hold on a second, inflation is increasing again. And so I think tomorrow is a no-win situation when it comes to inflation. So I think tomorrow, look out for some kind of market turbulence when the inflation number comes out, because this is like a no-win situation. I don't like this tomorrow, because I know the market's going to misinterpret what it means. And I'll show you why the market's actually going to misinterpret what it means. One, you've got Trueflation saying that the actual inflation rate is 3.8. And to be honest, I trust Trueflation because I know them. It's a friend of mine. But I trust him more than I trust Joe Biden. Even though Joe Biden quoted my tweet, I still trust my friend Stefan more than I trust Joe Biden. The next thing is you've got the Cleveland Fed, and they're very, very, very good at forecasting inflation. They are saying that the April inflation is going to be 5.19. That means 5.2. So 5.2 means inflation has increased. Inflation increases. Houston, we have a problem. Market panics tomorrow. Everything comes down. It becomes a shit show. And that's what happens. So the one good thing, which the market is not seeing, is that the forecast for May is already, oh, you can't see it. Let me actually make it better for you over here. Why don't you guys tell me I'm hiding half the alpha? So the forecast for tomorrow is 5.1. The forecast for May is 4.45. 4.45 means we are decreasing again. And if you look at PPI, which is the producer price index, it shows you, remember, producers produce something first. And then once producers produce something, it takes like a month or two to get onto the shelves, right? So like they produce this bottle. This bottle takes a long time to get the shelf. A month or two later, you buy it. That's when it gets measured for inflation. In this case, the PPI has come down. And because the PPI has come down, it shows that the CPI will actually come down. And that's what TED Talks Macro is actually saying. He's saying, look at the PPI. The PPI is showing that, you see, PPI peaked first. And then it started to come down, and then CPI started to come down, and everything else followed. So the good news is that trueflation plus the Cleveland Fed plus PPI are showing us that the inflation numbers are going to be coming down. Our analyst, Joe the Irishman, he says, how have the markets reacted with CPI? In the past 9 times, they've been green. So tomorrow, he says BTC has been green 9 out of 10 of the last CPIs, 90%. July 22 was the CPI top at 9.1. Bitcoin has yet to hit blah, 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 blah. Could happen this month, which could spell the inflation narrative is back. Be careful. Watch out for that inflation narrative. If it happens and the price goes down, buy it back up because it's garbage, because you know what's going to happen next. Let's look at the probabilities for rate hikes. Still 83.4% for no rate hike. And then the next month, 58.5% for no rate hike. And then September, I think we start getting proper... people are talking about a rate cut. I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong. Anyway, so that's that. That's the first part of the formalities. The second part of the formalities is the debt ceiling. Because, as I said to you, the debt ceiling is a nothing burger. So you have to understand that the debt ceiling is a nothing burger, because neither side, not the Democrats nor the Republicans, are going to let the US default on its debt. So everything that you see now is posturing and games that politicians play to rally support and to make the one party look stupid in front of the other party. Bear that in mind. Don't fall into the same category as the masses, because there is a coordinated campaign. Right now, Janet Yellen is the front face of the campaign. She is a puppet for Joe Biden because she wants to keep her job. You know that. She is a puppet for Joe Biden, and she is trying to paint the other party as the villains here, and trying to say that Joe Biden has done everything that he can to move a debt ceiling, and the other party is not relenting. It's a campaign. Bear in mind. I know this video is going to get banned. I know this, but you guys told me that I must just keep being myself. And I remember I was in I was in Austin, and one of the guys came to me and he gave me a big hug, and he said to me, just keep saying what we want, what we're thinking, but are too scared to say. So I'm not scared to say it. I'm going to say it. And if you want me to continue to say it, like this video, because that's the only thing that's going to get us unshadow banned, and I'm going to get shadow banned for saying this. But right now, the government in the United States is playing shenanigans, and they're on a campaign to panic the voters, to panic the public that the US debt ceiling ain't going to be hit. I'm willing to bet you my left testicle and my right testicle. No, let me keep one. So my left testicle, I'm willing to bet you my left testicle that they come to some kind of resolution. But what happens in the resolution is before that, they negotiate. You give me this, I give you this, you don't spend like this, you appoint this minute, blah, 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 blah. Negotiations, politics, that's what it's about. So when you see things like this, okay?
Well, really, that's it. We've been using extraordinary measures for several months now, and our ability to do that is running out, and we will start to run down our cash. And our current projection is that in early June, a day will come when we're unable to pay our bills unless Congress raises the debt ceiling. And it's something I strongly urge Congress to do. Of course, it's appropriate to have negotiations about the budget, about spending priorities. President Biden has presented a detailed budget that does cut deficits by $3 trillion over 10 years while investing in the strength of the American economy. But we do need to raise the debt ceiling to avoid economic calamity.
So let's just understand what she basically said. She said, we're going to run out of money by the beginning of June. They're forecasting now that mid-May or early June, the US runs out of money and cannot pay its obligations, right? It can't pay its employees. It can't pay the soldiers. It's this big campaign that the US is going to default on this debt. Do you really believe that the US defaults on its debt? Now, I know if the US defaults on their debt, this video is going to become the biggest meme on Twitter, but it's going to be way worse for the people living in the United States. So I don't believe that the US defaults on this debt. But as I said to you, Janet Yellen is now the front face of this big campaign to make everybody panic about what's about to happen. So listen to what she says.
And just to game that out further, so where do bondholders fit in terms of the prioritization of who gets paid in a technical default? Do they get prioritized, or is it just about paying the bills as soon as the money comes in?
Well, you know, I would say that if Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling, the president will have to make some decisions about what to do with the resources that we do have. And there are a variety of different options, but there are no good options. Every option is a bad option. And I really don't want to get into discussing them and ranking them because, as every Treasury Secretary has known, the only option that really leaves our economy in good shape is, in our financial system, is raising the debt ceiling and making clear that Congress stands behind the basic principle that America pays its bills. We're not a deadbeat country. Yeah. And if that's compromised, even in the run-up to it, if it looks like we're going to go up against the ceiling and may not get it done, that will have tremendously adverse effects on financial markets and the economy. So there just is no good option.
Okay, so there are no good options. The US debt is actually out of control. It's nearly $32 trillion. They are about to run out of money. But, don't worry, guys, because Joe Biden is meeting with the congressional leaders on the debt ceiling, which will take place today at 4 p.m. EST. Please do not panic about this. It's such a nothing burger. I can't actually believe I spent time talking about it. But I had to, because a lot of people have been asking me, what's happening with the debt ceiling? What's happening with the debt ceiling? What's happening with the debt ceiling? Tell you what's happening with the debt ceiling. They're going to raise it like they did last time and the time before and the time before. They're just going to negotiate before. And that's it. So if the market goes down, or if Bitcoin goes down, or if any opportunities present themselves because of a debt ceiling, you know what you do? You buy like crazy. Speaking of buying like crazy, let me just check on my position. Okay, I'm not making as much as I was. I don't know if I'm still in the top 20 of the competition. Okay, I'm 26. I could live with that. I can live with 26. Yeah, join the competition. There's only 267 spaces left. At 2,000, that's it. Closed. And then one of us wins the Tesla. And I can win the Tesla too, but I've got some work to do. All right, another thing. 𝗕𝗏𝗃 wrote an article about the banking collapse. And you remember that his last article was actually really bullish. He turned really bullish because of the banking collapse. And he kind of said, this banking collapse brings unlimited liquidity into the system because of the program, which was called BTFP, which is the bank, the program to save the banks. So now he wrote another article. Now, I love the way he starts his articles. He writes so beautifully. He says, the economics of nightclubs and national banking systems have a lot in common. Patronizing a nightclub is a lot of fun. You get to listen to good music, hang out with your friends, and for some, find a mate. However, after all the fun is had, there is always a bill to pay, and sometimes it can be quite substantial. Absent an agreed upon set rules on how the cost should be allocated, the conversation as to who pays and how much can get quite heated. I was only there for a bit. I only had one drink. I didn't bring any girls to tables. So he writes this whole article, and the article is absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to spend half an hour. You can either go to ChatGPT, which will summarize it for you, or if you don't want to go to ChatGPT, you can just go to the bottom of the article where it says bang bang. And what it says here is it says the following, and I think this is where it is. If inflation stays high and the Fed continues raising rates, or even just keeps them where they are today, then more banks will fail. We'll see more bailouts, and the government will continue to support the creation of larger, too big to fail banks, because that's what's happening. The large banks are bailing out the small banks. This would expand the supply of money, and gold and Bitcoin would rally. So scenario 1, gold and Bitcoin rally. Scenario 2, if inflation falls and the Fed cuts rates quickly, eventually banks would stop failing. They would, because remember the reason why banks are collapsing is because of the long-dated T-bills and the increase in interest rates. If inflation falls and the Fed cuts rates quickly, eventually banks would stop failing, but this would reduce the price of money. And then again, gold and Bitcoin continue to rally. So in both his scenarios, gold and Bitcoin continue to rally. So that's very good. How are we doing on our panel, James?
We've got 2 guests.
All right, so 2 guests are about to join. One more story which I want to talk to you guys about. It's the death of crypto in America again. We had an exchange. We had Bittrex go into bankruptcy. Quite sad because Bittrex was the exchange where I used to originally degen. And they're going down. And the irony is they're going down after they were attacked by the SEC. So they were originally attacked by OFAC. And I've always said to you, like, when the Office of Financial Control comes to you, right, OFAC, then the only thing you can say is basically, oh, fuck. Because that's what happens when OFAC comes for you. Anyway, they got a penalty, a fine from OFAC. And you can see that now in the creditors list, the biggest creditor is actually OFAC. So they get $25 million. And then there's a person or an institution that has $14 million. And then there's $10 million and $7 million. So they filed for bankruptcy because they just thought we don't want to operate in the United States anymore. Saying we still have 100% of all customer funds. Yes, there will be a claims process through the bankruptcy court. This was the cleanest way to bury the baby. Goodbye. Thanks for playing. But don't panic, because all they did was exit the United States. That was just an elegant exit out of the United States. They said, look, we'll just put our United States business in bankruptcy and we'll continue to operate in the rest of the world, just like what Coinbase is doing, just like what Gemini is doing, just like what ByBit is doing, just like what Bitget is doing. Why should we argue with the US legislators all the time? When the US legislators are so slow and so against crypto, let's go overseas and make a lot of money. That's what it's about. So that's exactly what's happening. You've got Brian Armstrong in the Emirates meeting with many lawmakers. And I think this is a good thing, because you know what the message that gets driven here is? It's a big fuck you to the US. It's basically saying, you know what? I'm the biggest crypto guy in the US, especially now that there's rumors of Binance US being insolvent and blah, blah, blah. You've got Brian Armstrong, who is really Mr. Crypto in the United States. He was in the UK taking selfies with ministers. He's now in the Emirates taking selfies with ministers. They registered a country in the Bahamas. He even said, I don't have but he also said we are considering actually making the UAE a stronghold for crypto. And this comes at a time where the US SEC is backed from defining what a digital asset. They're saying, look, we're not defining what a digital asset is. The term is still under consideration. What a bunch of talks. Anyway, this is a good time to plug a sponsor, KuCoin. One of our sponsors. They have released their transparency report and their 6th proof of reserve is out, showing that one-to-one exchange reserve guaranteed on chain. So again, very, 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 very good to show that they've actually got more than 100% of their assets backed on chain, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. All right, let's play BRC20 and let's play Ordinals. I've got guests. To be honest, I have no idea who the guests are because they've been recruited. While I'm here. So are you guys going to...
My delivered literally 2 minutes. One's arrived.
Okay, so James says one's arrived and another one?
On his way.
Okay, we've got another one on the way. I think this is a good time to remind you, if you're coming to Miami next week, in 3 hours and 14 minutes, the price of the tickets goes up. If you buy a ticket, you come to dinner with me, Sheldon, Fred, Kyle, Miles, Hustle. We have got a dinner. We've booked a venue. We'll announce that tomorrow. If you want to buy it, go to the website. When you buy the ticket, you click on buy the ticket, it'll ask you for a code. So you'll put your name and blah, blah, and then it'll ask you for a code. When it asks you for a code, you got to use the code CryptoBanter. If you don't use the code CryptoBanter, you won't get the dinner tickets. Let's see how I'm doing in the competition. Not so good. Not as good as I expected. We need Bitcoin to go up a bit. Let's quickly look at normal markets. So let's quickly just look at where we are. We do have Bitcoin at 27,600. Let's quickly go Dow Jones flat, Nasdaq flat, Dixie 101.64 flat, altcoins.
Our first guest is here.
Okay.
Jack.
We need both. So altcoins, the ones that are running are the Bitcoin alternatives, if you want to call them that. I don't know if you can allow to call them that. Let's look at the next 100 coins. Okay, so yeah, not much going on. I think the market's pretty flat, waiting for some movement. All right, let's get some guests on. Let's talk Ordinals. So we've got Jack with us. So there we go. Hey, how's it going, Jack?
How's it going? Very good to meet you.
Very good to meet you. I know we're getting some friends joining us. Are they in the waiting room?
One coming in 30 seconds.
Okay, one coming in 30 seconds. Amazing. Jack, there's a lot going on with Bitcoin and BRC20, and now there's ORC20, and there's Ordinals. And it's brought the Bitcoin network to a little bit of a, I mean, if you're looking at the Bitcoin network from a store of value point of view, it's quite scary because the meme pool's full, transactions have become slow. What do you think the effect is on Bitcoin as a store of value from all these things?
I think it's actually amazing that whatever happened because finally Bitcoin got utility. And at this point, it's not really just about storing value in Bitcoin. You can actually use Bitcoin to get ordinals and to get BRC20 tokens. So what we're seeing is what we're experiencing is tokenization of the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is great for Bitcoin miners. Because for the first time in this decade, Bitcoin network has experienced what we call the flippening of reward fees versus the actual subsidy. So basically, yes. Bitcoin miners generally get 6.25 Bitcoin per block. Yesterday, they were getting 6.25 Bitcoin per block plus another 7 in fees.
Yeah, so I did see that the miners were earning a lot more fees. They were earning a lot more fees than usual. But doesn't it make the network unusable for people who just want to transfer large amounts of money? Like if I just want to send, if I'm here because I want to send, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, doesn't it make the network a little bit unusable?
No, that's not true. That's not true because the only difference between yesterday when our project launched, the BRC20, and last week is that last week you were able to send large sums of money with $5 as fees just to do a transfer. And then yesterday was $20. It is still very, 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 very low. It is just if you underprice your transactions, you're going to have to wait. But that's the law of the land.
What happens if the volume increases exponentially? So what happens if Ordinals and BRC20 and ORC20 now become 10 times the size that they are, so to speak? What happens then?
The same thing what happened to Ethereum. So Ethereum was needed to be scaled up, and there were different type of solutions were presented. There are layer 2s, Polygon network came up. So Bitcoin has Lightning, and there's various other roll-up solutions are being presented. So this is actually great for everyone and great for blockchain. Blockchain needs to scale. And now it has a reason to. Okay.
So we've got another guest. Zen20, how are you, sir?
Hello, how are you? Good to be here.
Good. I'm assuming you share the same view that this is actually good for the Bitcoin network and not bad for the Bitcoin network, right?
Yeah, 100%. Finally, we can do something with Bitcoin, and we are doing it. We are starting to readjust our views on Bitcoin and what it can do, and go from not only a store of value, but some kind of utility. So instead of seeing Bitcoin as only gold, we can see it as oil as well. Because whatever goes on this network, you're going to need Bitcoin in order to use it.
Okay, so right now, if I understand it correctly, there's the BRC20 standard, which is effectively, it's a derivative of ordinals, where essentially you're taking a individual Satoshi and you are inscribing in an individual Satoshi. You're creating a token out of the individual Satoshi. That token right now, as it stands, is a non-divisible token, right? So you cannot divide that token.
Right. So what we have to back up a little bit in order to understand BRC20s. This all is thanks to the upgrade, the Taproot upgrade of the Bitcoin network, and then thanks to something called ordinal theory created by 𝗕𝗓𝗓, you now have a framework where you, just as you said, you can track each individual Satoshi. You can give them an ordinal number, so to speak, a serial number. So that's a position in the supply. So the way that the sats have been mined in that order, they will get a number in that supply. So that's number one. Number two is that you also can inscribe arbitrary data into these individual Satoshis.
Is my understanding correct? Is my understanding correct that it's not actually inscribed on the Satoshi, but you've almost got to have an ordinals lens, like a lens between you and the blockchain, and if you don't have it, you don't see the inscription?
That is not true, actually. So what happens is this is an extension of segregated witness. Segregated witness allows blocks to be extended up to 4 megabytes. So what happens is that when you send a transaction, you can add a payload to your transaction. It goes into the block. It's actually written in as the hexadecimal data that you can read with any reader, and you can see it on any block scanner. So it's there's no really any sort of lens that need to be created. It's all there.
Okay, now let's say that our market, because our audience is a bunch of DJs, they just want to invest in these things. They're looking at this and they're saying, we need to find the investment opportunity. So I found this screen over here, which is the BRC20 ecosystem, so to speak. And as I highlighted in the beginning of the show, right now it has a market capitalization of $1 billion. And if you look at that and you compare it to the ERC20 version of that, which has a $250 billion, and that doesn't even take into account the NFTs, you realize that there could actually be a multi-X opportunity, maybe one of the biggest opportunities that we've seen in crypto since ERC20. How do you guys?
True. Absolutely true.
So how do you look
I
at
think
this?
that site is, that's a very good site to spot, but I don't think that site is currently updating live. There's a site called ordspace.org -BRC20, which has live feeds of the
ordspace.org?
Yeah.
Dash?
Ordspace.org -BRC20. So there you can see the current standings of the current fungible token, so to speak, on Bitcoin with this BRC20 protocol that 𝗕𝗫𝗕𝗏 came up with as an experiment, but we can see an explosive growth in the use of this standard for creating fungible tokens on Bitcoin.
So speaking of the opportunity, as you mentioned before on your show, Ethereum has a lot of value just because there's a lot of tokens that's been created. Now, this whole thing with the BRC20s, it's only been a month, maybe even less. There is a lot more liquidity on the Bitcoin blockchain, specifically TVL. So the opportunity is huge. I would say a generational opportunity to get into the space right now, this month, and actually experience for the first time an exchange of Satoshis for other digital artifacts that have been inscribed on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, BRC20s are ordinals, and people generally think of ordinals as non-fungible, and it is kind of true that they're not fungible, but they do within themselves have the data representation that presents fungibility. For example, I can get into the BRC20 token, I can buy or mint 1,000 units, that's going to be one ordinal, but then I can split it into small pieces and start selling it off or trade it.
And each time that you trade it, are you effectively trading one Satoshi?
No. What happens is that when you have 1,000 units, like for example, yesterday we launched this token called VMPX that gained to the 50 million market cap within an hour of launch. So it's never actually, I mean, at least to us, it never happened on Ethereum. So
what is VMPX? What is VMPX?
It's our token. We launched it. And that's what caused congestion yesterday that caused Binance to panic. $4 billion were withdrawn by Binance. And the flippening was caused by our launch. We were minted out in 6 hours.
What does the token actually do? So if I hold a VMPX token, what am I actually holding?
You're holding an ordinal that is part of the BRC20 ecosystem. It is one of the largest communities that we represent, called Zen, just entered Bitcoin blockchain, and we caused all of that congestion. So when you hold it, you hold value. You hold value of the community. You also hold, you have a certain affinity with the ideology, which we call first principles. First principles is closely modeled to the Satoshi's white paper, which is immutability, open source, decentralization, no admin keys and no pre-mining of any kind, and fair launch, specifically fair mint, as it happened yesterday. And the token was minted out in 6 hours.
I mean, can I crudely liken it to an NFT or a meme coin in terms of the fact that what you're buying is you're buying ideology and community. You're not actually buying specific utility. You're not buying a specific protocol like an exchange or a piece of software. You're buying acceptance of ideology, right?
That's
you compare
correct.
It to
it's
NFTs,
a hybrid between it's a hybrid between an NFT and a meme token, basically. So it's a hybrid between the two.
Zen, you were saying?
Yeah, so there's a few things there to comment on. First is the concept of fungibility on Bitcoin. I mean, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, 100 million Satoshis is 100 million Satoshis. But what we could see that when you inscribe something on an individual Satoshi, that can actually be more valuable than a Bitcoin. And we saw this a few months ago, I think it was March 1st, when someone inscribed a poop emoji on one Satoshi and it became more valuable than one Bitcoin. So we can add value to individual Satoshis. Now, for an NFT, in order to be a non-fungible token, it needs to be attached to something on-chain. It needs to have an owner and it needs to be transferable. So this hasn't been possible before because you couldn't track individual Satoshis, but now you can. So there's basically two ways you can assign a picture or arbitrary data to an ordinal, and that's with an on-chain or off-chain commitment. So what we are seeing now is basically if you standardize the process of inscribing something and you find consensus in the way that this can be viewed as a standard for fungible tokens, and it seems like a lot of people are, then you can create a framework for creating fungible tokens on Bitcoin. So what we wanted to do, because we come from a world on Ethereum where we launched, we talk about the first principles of crypto. So it's decentralization, transparency, peer-to-peer transactions, did I say censorship resistant, decentralization, etc. So those things are, and how can you distribute, how can you create a token and how can you distribute it in a fair way? And we looked at the current BRC20 tokens that were distributed, and we thought that we could improve it a lot. So we wanted to create a token that was distributed in a fair way with a fair launch and had as many token holders as possible. So you can see that after a launch, there was only one holder that managed to get more than 1% of the supply. So it's the most distributed token on the market. You see Ordi number 1 on that list there. They were first. That was the first fungible token to be inscribed on Bitcoin. But then you can see that we are number 2 on this list right now when it comes to market cap. We have very high liquidity. We have the highest liquidity right now, and we have the highest amount of holders out of all the BRC20s. So we have 9,489 holders currently.
So I love what you guys are saying, and as I say, it reminds me, it looks like it's a better version of an NFT, and it's a better version of a meme community.
It's immutable on chain, right? So the standard, the default is that everything is immutable. And on Ethereum, where we come from, most of the NFTs are not stored on chain. They're stored off chain. The NFTs we have, we call them CNFTs. They are per default stored on chain. It's only 3 lines of code hooking up the gradient in our NFTs, basically. But most of them are stored off chain. So this is kind of cool that everything is on chain per default.
So there are a lot of these I'm going to call them meme tokens, community tokens. Let's call them community tokens. So there are a lot of these community tokens in this list. But from what I understand, there are also a lot of tokens here which actually represent what an ERC20 would represent, which is a utility token, so to speak. So potentially like a 𝗕𝗏𝗃, which is purporting to build an exchange, right? Would that then be the utility token of the exchange? But the exchange would work on the Bitcoin standard and not on the ERC20 standard.
So
the way I see it, people directly talk about the utility. The way I see it, this is new technology, it's experimental technology. It's amazing in many ways. It's different. It has its pros, it has its cons. The first thing with anything when you're creating value is to figure out how can you create it in a way that makes sense? How can you distribute it to as many holders as possible? And then how can you trade it in a way that is following what we like to call first principles as much as possible? So the development in the space is incredible. It moves incredibly fast, and people are already figuring out how you can trade these fungible tokens in a decentralized way, on a decentralized access, etc., etc.
You were going to say something, Jack?
Yeah, so I was going to say that there is really no smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain at this point. So hence, there's really no utility. The only way that you can gain utility is that you can buy the token and then somehow exchange it for something else. That is the only thing that is currently possible on Bitcoin. So unlike Ethereum, you can actually do some kind of DeFi and et cetera, et cetera. Here, for example, we launched VMPX, which is a community token, but we will give it utility in the near future that will, for example, plug into the Ethereum ecosystem also. But mostly it's due to its economic energy and not necessarily any sort of DeFi applications.
So you just mentioned something quite interesting. Do you think that BRC20 actually becomes the bridge between Bitcoin and Ethereum? Because
that is what we're working on.
Explain to me how that would work. So, like, how would you give a token on the BRC20 standard utility on Ethereum?
Are you familiar with rollups?
Yes.
Okay, so currently Bitcoin can be used as a settlement layer only, and the layer of exchange of value, and that's pretty much it. So what needs to be created is a rollup system, preferably decentralized, that actually allows for the execution and settlement on Bitcoin blockchain. So what we're working on is the rollup solution that can actually will be able to utilize the deployed ordinal BRC20 tokens within the rollup system, so you can actually present it with DeFi layer.
All right, so I want to ask you a question. So VMPX is your token. So let's say for now, maybe you're a little bit conflicted. Let's just say because you're here talking your token and we're bought into it. If I were to look at investing, and if I would look at investing in some of these other tokens, give me like 2 or 3 others that you think would be really cool to invest in. And I'm not financial advice and everything else that goes with it, but you're early in this ecosystem, so you're early, so you can give us some investment ideas. And then I'm coming to you. Then I'm coming to you with the same question in a second.
So obviously, you can look at this list and you can see what resonates with you. You can go for memes, or you can go for something that was launched very early. So Ordi, for example, is the first one that was launched. It has the biggest market cap of 400 million. So that one is kind of like an equivalent of the number one ordinal BRC20 token. However, the biggest difference between the biggest difference there is that you're late. Not only you're late, is that in March it only took $30,000 to mint out the whole supply. Now comparing it with our token, with the VMPX, it took $7 million to mint it out. So you could argue the fairness of launch of VMPX actually gives you a better chance to get it at the lower floor. It's only about $40 million in market cap at this point. And there's many others that are upcoming. You can see them all on the list. Ultimately, anywhere where you throw a dart, you're likely going to be successful, just because this space is going to blow up and it's going to be 1,000x within a couple of years. That is because there's so much money on Bitcoin dying to get utility, dying to be used to get into something else, dying for diversification. And for the first time in history, you can actually have tokens that are fungible on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Unbelievable. Then what do you think? 1 or 2 tokens that you think would be cool, other than your tokens?
I think it makes a bit sense to at least get you're a bit late in that aspect, but still super early into this market. Already makes a lot of sense just because they're first. And they sort of spearheading what's possible with this technology, and they have cool people who are propagating for this technology. What else? I think it's very interesting as well to follow.
Talk to him about 𝗕𝗚𝗧𝗍.
Yeah, so we did some experiments when it came to how to deploy this token, because when you deploy, you have to find a ticker, you have to choose the supply, and you have to choose the limit per mint. So we did a few experiments, one called Zuni and one called 𝗕𝗚𝗕𝗧, P-U-S-Y, which is just like a meme
Great
token.
Name.
Yeah. Everyone needs some pussy, I think.
So PUSY.io, right? That's the website. It's family friendly.
PUSY.io. And also our token is VMPX.io as well. So if I know some people just want to get in and get their hands dirty into what's possible with this, I would recommend this. I mean, we're still waiting. The infrastructure that's being built in this space is going incredibly fast, but we're still waiting for decentralized solutions in order to do everything. I sent you some link, Ran. You can show them. It shows the explosive growth of ordinals.
Where did you, James? Can you share that link, or someone send that link? Sorry, I'm not.
I sent them to you on Twitter.
Okay.
So it also shows the marketplaces. There's a marketplace that's been growing exponentially, and that's UniSat. So
yes,
I would recommend just getting your hands dirty, get a UniSat wallet, send some Bitcoin there, participate in a few mints. You can find your way on that website just to participate in that mint. You have to realize as well, it's kind of risky to participate in these launches, in the sense that when you deploy a contract, you have to choose the limit, right? And the blocks, whatever we do on top of Bitcoin, we can't get away from the 10-minute blocks. So if your transaction won't be in that block, you might inscribe an ordinal to be part of the supply, but it might not be within the limit, so to speak. But I would suggest just play around with it, send some Bitcoin to a UniSat wallet, and interact with that marketplace.
I agree with you. I agree.
UniSat is the best. UniSat is the best wallet. It's the best wallet to be currently using if you want to do a DEX, basically. If you want to do a centralized exchange, 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗧 is actually trading BRC20 tokens, and also 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗕𝗓 is trading.
BitGet, all trading BRC20. Guys, listen, we're out of time. But it's out of time. But I think that everybody in the community should follow these two guys. Their Twitter handles are in the description, or we'll put the description. Follow these guys. As you can see, it's just alpha per minute, which is exactly what we promised you guys. Sorry for the short time. Thank you so much for coming on. Much appreciated. Much love. And listen, we're going to be watching the space.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Follow. Get some.
Hello, guys. All right, so that you heard it. You heard it from the guys live, which is absolutely unbelievable. We're early. Early means good and bad. Early means it could all collapse. Early means you could be buying things too early, but early also means that you could have a chance to make those 1,000x's that you didn't make on Ethereum because you weren't around, or those 1,000x's like Solana. And the way to do it is to get a wallet and to start operating and to understand how this ecosystem works, because when you do, you have a big advantage, and we're going to keep you up to date. So, sending you much love, guys. I'm going to see you guys again tomorrow. And what I think is that if you haven't yet entered the trading competition, get into the trading competition, because the time's running out, and you're going to hate yourself if we get to the competition and we run out of spaces and you're not in there. The other thing is, remember that we do have tickets for Bitcoin Miami. If you want to join us and join the dinner, sign up, referral link, use the crypto banter coupon code. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, have fun and trade well, my friends.